Alright guys, welcome back to my dismantled ML, and today I'll be showing you guys how to remove your headlights and upgrade all the internals and basically bring it up to 2020 standards. So, I'm going to upgrade the xenon bulbs to brand new Osram CBIs. Notice one's a little bit faded than the other, so I figured it's a good time to replace them. Anyways, taking headlights apart is a pretty big and invasive process. You got to stick them in the oven for a little bit. And now I've done this before, not twice, and it doesn't feel like weird to me at all, so I'm pretty comfortable with it. Yeah, let's get into it. I'm pretty sure you guys have already watched my how to remove your bumper of your 164 video. Pretty straightforward to do, not too hard at all. And then once you've done that, taking the headlights off is a piece of cake. There are two 10mm bolts. There's one up here. This kind of shallow guy right here. I'll show you what that looks like off the car, which is what this is right here. Again, very easy. And then the second bolt is right over here. This guy right there. And it's a much longer 10mm, which is what we're looking at over here. Alright, once you've undone those, it's pretty easy to kind of lift the entire housing out. Just be careful with your fender. You don't want to damage that really, but luckily there's a nice rubber gasket to kind of prevent that from happening. It's kind of cumbersome with one hand, but there we go. And almost there. Alright, as you can see, there are a ton of little connectors. Just got to remove all of those basically. Really a push tab. Now if your car's pretty old like mine, and you have not actually taken this out before, they're probably pretty stiff in there, so keep that in mind. This connector in particular, you have to kind of pull out a tab first, and then you have to remove it and push down, so I'll show you that in a second. This guy right here, so what you want to do is pull up on that tab right there, like so, and then you can press down on it, and there we go, it comes right out. Now the entire headlight just lifts out of place. Now, you probably can't see what I'm doing. There it is. Sorry for that sloppy kind of footage there, but you think you get the idea. Now, if I were you, I'd zip tie all these connectors together, just kind of keep them in place. Keep in mind the longer connector right here is what goes to the further parking light on the, basically this guy right here. So, other than that, it's all pretty self-explanatory which connector goes where. You can't really mess this up. The only ones that are very similar are this one and this one, but like I said, the longer strand will go all the way to the parking light, and this lighter colored one will go to the lighter colored bulb on this side. Yeah, see that lighter color connector? That's where that one plugs in. So they kind of were smart about it and they color coded that to that extent. So we can actually move away from the car now, and we can get to working on those lights themselves. Alright, now I'm going to show you guys how to strip down this entire headlight to its bare pieces, just like we got over here. To begin actually disassembling the light, we need to take off this gasket first. It's kind of this rubber thing on the outside. A few tabs and it should just come right off, like so. Alright, I can put that aside. We won't be needing this for a while. Next up is removing all the bulbs from the headlight itself. So we don't need any of these bulbs in here while we work on it. So I'm going to start off with the low beam xenon, which is behind this bigger cover right here. Undo that cap. There's the bulb itself. Now I'll be replacing this. I don't really care much about it, but just you don't want to do any damage to it really, so be careful about that. First undo that plug, and then twist the entire thing to the left, and it should just pop out like so. Next I will take the turn signal, which is down here. Pretty easy. Twist, and pops out. Alright, now we do the high beam, which is right here. Twist that cap off. Now we get twisted out of the socket. It is an H7 bulb, and then you can just pull on it directly without touching it, because I don't want to damage the outer covering. And there we go, got the high beam bulb out of there. Hopefully it's not damaged. If it is, no big deal, they're not very expensive to replace. Pretty readily available. I'm going to put the socket back in just to keep it out of the way. Like that's good enough. I'm going to take out the parking light, which is right here. These kind of get stiff after a while, so some silicone spray could go a long way here. And it comes out like this, and I'm going to be upgrading this parking light to an LED CAN bus, so should have some better light output in fact. Next up is the side marker light, which is the same type of bulb. just amber. So I was going to upgrade this to LED as well, but the issues with Mercedes of putting these LED bulbs, especially for turn signals, it just does not like them. It's not going to work properly despite having canvas and all that. So, alright, so with all those bulbs out of the way, we can take all the screws out of the housing. Basically, any visible screw you see, we should be removing those. So, I'm going to start off with taking out the ballast, which is down here. There are only 3 T20 Torx screws down here. We're going to be taking all those out. And now the entire ballast just kind of come off, just like this. We can put this aside now. Now I'm just going to go around the entire housing, removing all the Torx screws I see. They should all be T20. But before I do that, there are 2 little vent hoses that need to come off. There should be 2 of them. They should look like this. I don't know why this light's missing them, but it does not have them, so I'm going to keep going. Correction, I did find one of those little hoses down here, little vent hose. It was hiding, I forgot where it was, but it is over here. There's one. Alright, now that we got the ballast, the bulbs, and all the screws out of the housing, we can now stick it in the oven at 200 degrees Fahrenheit, or 220 actually, for about 10 minutes, and then take it out and pull the lens off the housing. Pretty soon, almost the entire headlight is going to look like that, in pieces, where we can decide we want to paint, repair, or whatever. So, for example, I'll be replacing the projectors themselves. That means the actual lens, which is right where my finger is. I'm going to replace that with some clear ones from the retrofit source. I have the new xenon bulbs, which you can kind of see back there. Osram CBIs, probably the best in the business. So those will be replacing whatever Phillips I have in there. I noticed that my motor, for the actual bulb, where it connects, this piece of plastic is actually cracked. So it was actually hanging loose like this. It wasn't actually doing anything, so I can repair that. I'll probably use some JB Weld and tighten that thing back up, snap it back on, and we should be good to go. And this fan housing was kind of cracked, so gotta repair that too. Just aging plastic, you know. So if you do come across any of that stuff, it's a great time to fix it. But yeah, next video will be me putting it in the oven. I'm currently at my oven, as you can see, and I've got a kind of wooden MDM board at the bottom here. So when I put the headlight in here, it's going to be not touching any metal. It's very important the headlight does not touch any metal in your oven, or else it can melt, which, you know, big no-no. So before you even start the oven, good idea to test fit, kind of see where it lines up in the oven and make sure that it doesn't hit anything. I already know it won't because of my first headlight. Now you can preheat the oven. Alright, so we want to convection bake at 220. And start it up. And do not put the headlight in here when the oven is preheating, as some ovens, and I know mine does for sure, it'll actually go a lot higher than 220 to warm it up. So you definitely don't want to do that, or else it may melt the headlight. So wait till it's 220, then we can put the headlight in. Of course, my gardener's here right now, you probably can hear that, but you want to keep the headlight kind of on a surface you don't mind messing up, so I put some cardboard down. When we tear it apart, there's going to be a lot of butyl seal going everywhere, so you want to make sure we have that handled and out of the way, really. When taking the headlights out, you're going to want to have these massive rubber gloves because it will be very hot. When we actually start working on it, we can take these off and put on some normal mechanics gloves, which will give us a better grip on the headlight, but also kind of prevent some heat from getting to our hands, because this stuff will get really hot. So definitely a good idea to do that. Headlight is in the oven. Now we wait 10 minutes, so at 10:47 I'll be pulling this out of the oven. Alrighty, so we gotta focus on the tabs. There's some plastic tabs from the lens that actually attach to the housing, so we're gonna kind of lift those up a little bit. For example, this one right here. Just gotta kind of gently pull apart. Oh, that's some butter. And look at that. Now we do want to avoid butyl stuff from getting inside. So we'll use a screwdriver real quick and just kind of get it all out of the way. There we go. And there we go. Our lens is now detached from the housing. This is also a good time because the beetle's all hot to try and remove as much as you can without burning yourself. So I'm going to try and just kind of scoop it out. Now you guys probably won't have as much butyl in here as I do. I put way too much when I did these headlights the first time, so that is why there's so much. I'll scoop the rest out using a heat gun before we reassemble. With the two halves separated, we can take apart the housing first. So this entire terminal tray just slots out. I'm actually going to be painting this black because I know you're supposed to have the reflectors in there, but the lights are bright enough where if you paint it gloss, you're not going to have a difference. So I'm going to put this aside. Next up, I'll be taking this entire sort of housing out, including both of these, the low beam and the high beam kind of housings. So to do that, we have to kind of loosen these little clips over here. Alright, so to get this entire housing out of the main headlight housing, there are these three little clips right here. Use some sort of penetrating thing to kind of get those loosened up, and then I got to push on both sides. I use a flathead screwdriver, it kind of worked just fine. Keep in mind that the connection between, this part's connected to a motor, just kind of on the back of the housing, which is this guy right here. This is the motor from the other headlight, and it was actually cracked here. I can't remember if I mentioned that already, but it was cracked, so this one is just doing just fine. So I'm going to leave that one as is. But they are prone to breaking apparently. I had a few people that 164s talk about that, so definitely if yours is broken, good time to fix it. So between those clips, there was also one connector that went into kind of right here, pretty easy to come off, and then also this little clip retaining the wires to this housing. Super annoying, I couldn't get it off, so I just cut it off, but I could probably find another way to put it on there with zip ties maybe. So now we can put this aside, and at this point, I believe we're pretty much done with the main housing for now. So we're only going to see this again when we are ready to reassemble the headlight, and I'll probably use a heat gun and clean out more of the butyl. Just heating it up and cleaning it out with the screwdriver as I was doing earlier. I want to get most of it out, so we're going to get a fresh, clean install for when we put it back together. So this can go aside for now. We're not going to be needing this for a while. Alright, now we can disassemble the lens part. So essentially we have this sort of inner housing is just screwed into the lens by a bunch of T15 screws. Quick correction, they are T10s, not T15s. So we're going to take all those out, and the entire thing is just going to slide out. Now, one thing I should have mentioned earlier is that the chrome finishes, if you want to leave those chrome, be very careful not to touch those, because any fingerprints you leave, if you try to clean them off, it's pretty hard to really clean them off properly unless you use methanol maybe. So in my case, I'll be painting them about some silver color, so I'm not too worried about it, but please keep that in mind. If you're using GL, ML, whatever you're doing, remember that. Alright, now we got the main housing you actually see from the outside. So like I said, you don't want to touch the chrome parts if you want to leave them chrome, but in my case, like I said, I don't care. So there are three different kind of circular things we need to remove, along with this kind of lens piece at the bottom, and also the side marker, which I previously painted black, or kind of tried to tint it black, but didn't really turn out well, so I'm just going to paint it black completely now. And essentially just a bunch of tabs, pretty self-explanatory how to remove these, and I'll be back when that's done. Alright, so now we've got our two sets of everything disassembled, and now we can start sanding down whichever parts we want to paint. So pretty much I'll use 600 grit sandpaper for everything here you see. So the chrome stuff, this one, this one, this one, this piece too, along with this. And I'm also going to repaint the actual black housings just to make sure they're all fresh and cleaned up. And yeah. Alright, now comes the part where we want to disassemble the actual projector itself. So first we're going to take this plastic kind of bezel off. It's already kind of snapped off on the bottom, which is good. So kind of comes off the bottom like that. With the top over here, you kind of want to lift up over here and pull backwards. So you don't want to break it, obviously. So try to be as delicate as possible. There we go. put this aside. I'm probably gonna leave this either chrome or I'm gonna paint it a sort of a silvery kind of aluminum looking finish, a little bit duller than that. Now we can remove this actual projector kind of frame from this entire sort of setup over here. So how we're going to do that is there are four, I believe, four T20s over here. Slightly different than the T20s we use on the outside, so keep these separately. There are four of them. We're going to take all four out. And once those four are out, the entire thing kind of comes out. But there is one motor right here, which we have to undo the clip for. There we go. Now, not going to touch this, I don't think, so I'm going to put this to the side for now. That is the hybrid reflector. I may paint this kind of aluminum finish to match the other parts. I'm not quite sure yet, so I'm going to leave that for now. But regardless, here we have our actual projector, which we can take this plastic frame off. Just kind of clips in there, so let's just unclip those. There we go, this part comes off. I'm going to paint this one black. And then here, of course, is our projector lens, which is nicely fogged up. And for some reason, the OEM projector lenses, maybe it's to protect the other drivers, but they're not clear at all, really. They're kind of, how do I put this, fogged up on the inside. So I got some upgraded ones from the retrofit source that are completely clear. So for disassembly, we're definitely going to want to use gloves. I mean, for reassembly, we're going to use gloves to not get any fingerprints on it, but for now, doesn't really matter. Put this to the side now. We will eventually need to take this top piece off of this kind of bottom part of the housing, and to do that, we'll need to actually Dremel or grind off these little rivets holding this top piece in. So when we reassemble, it's not going to be really a big deal because the two bottom ones are held in by those T20 screws anyways, but these two top ones are independent, so I actually bought some machine screws and some locking nuts to keep this guy in place. So I bought a couple sets. We'll see which one fits better, and I'll let you guys know which one's which. But those parts won't come until, the projector itself won't come until Saturday, so I will not touch that for now. I'll put this to the side right here. So sitting on the table, I've got one projector unit over here. This is the old one that came with the car. See, it's all fogged up, and then over here in the headlight on the other one I've done, it's extremely clear. Like, it looks really good, I think, especially with the black surround. It has a nice little contrast to it, so for aesthetic purposes as well. And then over here you can see I'm kind of pointing out the holes in which you can screw in the new ones. Didn't go too in depth with this, unfortunately, only because I think not many of you will be doing this, but I kind of figured I'd show you guys what I was doing anyways. Just got my first light put back together. It's looking awesome. I really love the way the kind of matte aluminum finish looks on those kind of shrouds of the lights over there. Also, I like how the black underline looks better than before. And the light output is not affected. I just kind of tested the light, and everything still works, which is perfect. I'm going to show you guys how to do with that one. So hopefully the projector explanation is pretty straightforward. If you guys have any questions, just go ahead and ask me a comment in the comments below, or leave me a DM on Instagram. I didn't go too in detail on that because it is pretty self-explanatory, but it does require a little bit of work. While I'm doing lights, I'm going to upgrade my fog lights to these Philips, I think 6000K, 6000K, actually 5000K fog lights, which should give up a much whiter appearance than the current sort of yellowish look. It should be a much brighter look as well, so looking forward to that. I'm going to do that real quick. It's as simple as just flipping out the bulb and putting a new one in. I'm not going to show that, it's really simple, and I got the bumper off anyways, so I'll be doing that real quick. I think they're like 15 bucks anyways, so while you're in here you might as well do all that kind of stuff, but really happy with these. I do eventually want to get new headlight lenses completely. I did try cleaning the insides, but I kind of left a little bit of some small scratches just from polishing and all that, which I knew was going to happen, which I'm not too worried about, but would have been nice if I could have gotten some fresh lenses, but unfortunately they don't just sell lenses for this car. It's really weird. So I found 163 lenses, 166 lenses, but not 164 lenses, so I'm going to have to buy a donor set of halogen lights and just take the lens off those and slap those on here next time around. But alright guys, so I've gotten this entire housing put back together as well. It's pretty simple to do. Essentially what I did is, you're going to need some of this stuff. It's just some Morimoto headlight resealing glue. It's just some butyl seal. It's all kind of wrapped up. I'll show you guys what that looks like. And you can use this very sparingly. So it comes in these kind of thick rolls. Now, this used to be completely full. So I've actually used this to now seal my two BMW headlights, my pair of BMW headlights, and this pair of headlights the first time, and now this pair of headlights the second time. So this stuff goes a pretty long way. you can really kind of stretch it thin, so it looks like this, but you can really stretch it out and it'll kind of cover a really big area. So you can be very kind of sparing with that within the grooves of the housing. It is fairly easy to do. I just basically put this and then I put it back in the oven, but not at 220 degrees. I only put it in the oven for about, I think, 7 minutes at 200, and that was enough to kind of push it back together. The main thing you want to do is make sure the tabs kind of click in. So for example, this tab over here kind of went over. Now unfortunately some of my tabs are broken, which for older headlight lenses this is very common. Not a huge deal though, as long as it kind of is together, that's all you really need. So for example, I have at least two tabs in place, but for the rest of them they're all, I have a third one actually down here, so, and a fourth one, so not doing too badly with that. But yeah, that's overall how you put it back together. I'm really liking the way these look with the kind of blacked out bottom piece and the more aluminum looking kind of shrouds and all, so really happy with that. Now I'm just going to put the lights back in and put it back in the car. So for most of you, this is just putting the same bulbs back in. However, with me, I'm going to be replacing these xenon bulbs, which have been in the car probably since it was built. Again, you know, nothing really wrong with these, just I think one was getting a little bit dim, so I have some Osram CBI xenons for the low beams to replace them, kind of more of a white appearance too, so that's great. I also have some Osram night breakers, H7 halogen size, coming for the high beams. Now those are more of a warm color, but they are known for the distance. So because high beams are not really on all the time, rarely actually, only for road trips really, I really care mostly about how they perform, and I really couldn't care less if they look white or not. So I'll be getting those today, and then also have some Osram CBI halogens, so should be around the same color as these guys for the fog lights. So that'll be replacing what I got in there, and yeah. At this point, I gotta put the ballast back on the headlight, gotta put all the bulbs back in and all that, and then we can reinstall in the car and test them out. What you may want to do is before putting the lens back on, you can go ahead and test all the bulbs, make sure all those things work before you put the housing back together. Also wanted to point out while I was doing this, to replace the xenon bulbs to the W164, maybe similar for the Mercedes at this time period, you have to unclip the bulb from this little bracket right here. Basically this entire bracket is what clips in to the slot right here and twists. So you have to unclip this bracket by pressing down on there. Let me see if I can kind of show you guys. It is easier than it looks, so for example, you just kind of press this, the entire thing spreads apart, you can slide this part off, and then this will go onto the new xenon bulb. As you can see, little cutouts that kind of fit the pattern at the bottom of the xenon bulb. So be sure to put that in correctly on the new xenon bulb.
Many months later.
Well, greetings from about, I don't know, 6 months later since I did the headlights, but yeah guys, I installed these headlights pretty much back how they were initially, and I'm really happy with how they look. They are satin black inside. It is raining right now, obviously. I don't know how badly the rain and the wind is affecting my microphone sound, so I'll step back a little bit. But yeah, to install them, basically just the exact opposite of taking them out, and they work really well. The low beams themselves with the clear lenses are even better than they were before. This car is the best headlights of all the cars I have here by far. Yeah, really happy with the headlights. Hope this video can help you out. I know it wasn't super in depth on the lens removal and stuff like that, and the repair of the headlight adjuster, but I figured those are kind of more like specific to my situation, and not necessarily everyone's doing that. But I think most people will be doing the blacking out of the headlight housings, if at all. So hopefully this helped you out. Feel free to DM me on Instagram, or leave a comment below if you guys have any questions. I will respond to Instagram a little bit faster. But yeah, that's it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and yeah.